Hi, I'm Larry Cole, Chairman of the Harwich Energy Committee, and this is Valerie Bell, a member of our committee. We're going to like to talk with you for just a few minutes about the Green Communities program that the town of Harwich is pursuing and we're helping with. The reason for hoping to become a green community is, besides doing the right thing by the environment and helping the state achieve its targets for carbon footprint reduction, it helps to improve energy efficiency and reduce our expenditures on energy. And by becoming designated as a green community, we become eligible for grants from the state to help us achieve the energy efficiency. There is money available from the state for some of the things in the realm of energy efficiency improvement that can't be financed by the Cape Light Compact Energy Efficiency Program. In order to become a green community, there are 5 criteria that the town must satisfy, and 2 of those involve votes by voters at the annual town meeting in May, and we'd like to talk to you about those. Next slide, please. There are already, out of the 351 communities in Massachusetts, over 200 have decided to become green communities. And the next slide, please. These are the 5 criteria that must be met. And at this point, I'm going to ask Val to review them with you and then talk a little bit about criterion 1 and 2.
Yeah, to become a green community, the community must fulfill all 5 criteria. The first is to adopt as-of-right siting. The second is to have expedited permitting for that site. The third is to establish a baseline of your energy usage, because part of being a green community requires that you reduce your energy consumption by 20% in 5 years. The 4th criteria is to purchase fuel-efficient vehicles, and the 5th criteria is to adopt the stretch code, which is just improving energy efficiency on new construction. Next slide. So for criterion number 1, the planning board has already researched this, and they've already created as an area that will be as-of-right siting, that will be an area where we can expand our renewable energy. It requires a vote in town meeting. This is a very important vote. It needs to be a 2/3 vote to accept this change of zoning. Next slide. And you can see on the map that the plot of land that we are going to be designating as our as-of-right siting plot is right next to our solar farm that we already have. And so this would give us an opportunity to expand the solar farm or use it for other energy related applications. Next. The second criteria is expedited permitting. This does not require a vote. Once we have approved the as-of-right siting, we just have to have a letter from town council saying that when the time comes for us to develop that piece of land, that the permitting process will be expedited. Next.
Criterion number 3 involves establishing a baseline of our energy usage. It happens that the state has prepared a database for us that contains, based on our utility bills for electricity and natural gas, and the town has records for fuel usage, gasoline and diesel, and that sort of thing. So we have to create a database that has our usage for a recent year, and then we have to develop a plan to try and reduce that usage by 20% over the next 5 years. Now, we've had some assistance in that regard from the Cape Light Compact. To begin with, the Compact funded a study that was completed during the summer of 2016, where an energy consulting firm went to every municipal facility in Harwich with our facilities maintenance manager, Sean Libby, and presented him with a report at the end of the summer, making recommendations about where improvements could be made in building structures, in internal systems, and that sort of thing, to improve energy efficiency. And some of those were immediate things, some were short-term, some were longer-term, and some of those items that were recommended are already included in the capital plan for the next several years. And some of those items that are in the capital plan would be eligible for funding by the state if we become designated a green community. The other thing that the Cape Light Compact is doing is providing technical assistance. It has a grant from the state to help us establish this baseline and create the plan for the 20% reduction over 5 years. And both of those assistance from the Cape Light Compact has been at no expense to the town. Criterion number 4 requires that we purchase fuel-efficient vehicles, but it exempts police cars, fire trucks, all heavy vehicles over 5,800 pounds. And what it really comes down to is just what we call the administrative vehicles, vehicles that are used by town employees just to get around, the town engineer or building inspector, to go from one location to another and not be carrying a load of equipment of any kind. And there are lots of choices. And again, there is grant money available to help with that. It doesn't specify that they have to be electric or they have to be hybrid. They just have to be fuel efficient. And those will, over time, what we will do is simply replace some of the big old heavy gas guzzling town Vics that we've been handed down from the police department for years, and they don't use those anymore anyway. Criterion number 5 is the so-called stretch code. It applies to new residential construction and new commercial construction over 100,000 square feet. It does not apply to additions or renovations. And the difference between the stretch code and the so-called base code has narrowed considerably over the past several years. And in addition to that, the state has an energy code that is separate from the construction code, and that keeps getting upgraded every 3 years. And the upgrades are not in loosening, but in tightening. And so eventually the gap between the stretch energy code and the base code narrows anyway, over time. We've talked with the building commissioner in Harwich and confirmed that meeting the stretch energy code is not going to be a problem for contractors. There's something called the home energy rating system, and we have to meet that target, but the stretch energy code doesn't prescribe how you do it. It's a performance code. You can achieve it in various ways, so you have choices about how you achieve the standard. And there are plenty of home energy rating system inspectors around to assist with achieving those objectives.
Next slide. Yep. Next slide.
I think at this point, Val can show us, talk to you about a couple of slides that we have that show what the additional costs are of achieving the energy efficiency standard with homes, and then how very soon there becomes a positive cash flow returning to the owner.
This slide, just for vocabulary, what a HERS is, a home energy rating system. Next slide. And what they would be looking at is anything you would expect them to be looking at, walls, floors, ceilings, attics, everything that you would want to have in an energy efficient home. Next slide. It also requires that some of the systems in the homes meet certain SEER standards, where this is seasonal energy efficiency ratio. You might see that on your air conditioner. Next slide. This slide came from the Green Communities website, and it is a slide that shows the breakdown of the difference between a house that is just constructed using the base code and a house that meets the stretch code. In general, on the lower right-hand side, you can see that the difference would be about $2,600 in the overall cost of the home. Next slide. And this slide just summarizes that even though the house might cost a couple $1,000s more to purchase, at the end of the second year of that owning that home, the owner would be in a positive cash flow of about $135. So it doesn't take very long for the homeowner to start to see a savings if they have an energy efficient home that has met the stretch code. Next slide. So one of the, as Larry said at the beginning of this talk, one of the benefits of becoming a green community is it opens up a new avenue of money that the town can tap into in order to meet their energy goals. The grant allocation is about $125,000 for the base, plus there's a per capita formula which would give us between $140,000 and $150,000. The program has awarded over $80 million to the communities that have already become green communities, and they fund all kinds of things, including systems inside buildings. If the town hall needed a new air conditioning system, one of the things that we could do is tap into this green communities grant money to get a very efficient system. So the Harwich Energy Committee is very interested in Harwich being able to take advantage of this program, and we hope that everyone will come out to town meeting and vote for the articles that will support the green communities.
And if you have questions, this entire presentation is on the Harwich Energy Committee section of the town's website, and the state has extensive materials at a green community website. I'd like to just back up to one of the points that was made. If we could have the slide with the map of the as-of-right siting location.
It's like the third slide or something.
The point about this that I'd like to make is that we have three ways that we can, there are three ways that we can satisfy Criterion 1. That is, the as-of-right siting use could be either the manufacture of renewable energy products or research and development into renewable energy methodologies, or the production of renewable energy. And the town has wisely selected that one because right next to, and so the article that will be voted on at town meeting designates that site for large-scale photovoltaic solar array, which is another way of saying the solar farm like we already have on the landfill. And so this is a piece of, this parcel is in already zoned industrial commercial zone. It's town-owned land. There is no plan to put a municipal project on it. It would be leased by a developer who would install the solar panels and then sell the power. It could be a community solar garden, or the power could just be sold into the grid to the independent system operator, kind of wholesale. So one of the advantages of designating the site for that purpose is that our landfill solar farm is already connected to the Eversource grid. And so you need a special connection, and part of what's needed is already there. Thanks very much for having the opportunity to explain this, and we'll see you at town meeting.